Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all about parenting and family communication and bonding. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to become best friends with your child. In this video, I'm going to be talking about if it's even possible to become best friends with your child and if it's healthy to become best friends with your child, but also what you can do to make sure that you get the type of relationship that you want in the end. A long time ago, in a land far, far away, there was a guy named Dr. Benjamin Spock, and he taught about parenting. He was a psychologist. In fact, actually, he introduced some ideas that were actually pretty damaging to parents. He suggested this idea that parents should want to be their child's friend, not their parent. He assumed that that would be better. Now, there were a lot of heavy-handed parents at the time that he brought this up. This was into the late 50s, early 60s. He actually was called the father of the hippie generation because the generation of the young people that got raised under that advice ended up rebelling against everything that their parents stood for. Even if you think hippies are cool, you like the fashion, the style, whatever, you must admit it was a time of rebellion. Those hippies were people that were pushing against all of the norms of society at the time. And really, our society has never been quite the same since. Some people might say it's good. Other people might say, oh no, where did our morals go? You know, we've had some problems with that. But many people want to have a relationship with their child that's good. And the only way they know to describe it is using Dr. Benjamin Spock's language, which is to be a friend to your child. But really, being a friend to your child might not actually be that healthy. So we need to keep that in mind. Is it healthy to leave a child abandoned without a leader, without a parental authority, without a trainer? Because think of how you are with your friends. With your friends, you say, hey, what are you doing? Oh, hey, you want to do this fun activity with me? And then after that, if the friend has a problem with drinking, if the friend has a problem with, some other, issue, or they're having relationship problems, you're like, yeah, I hope that works out, you just let them deal with it all on their own. They're like abandoned. A child whose prefrontal cortex is so small because it's still developing, it doesn't develop until they're between the ages of 18 and 24 years old, would be left with no life experience and no ability to problem solve a lot of their most difficult issues if they don't have a parent there who's going to instruct them on what to do. So actually, it's not a good idea to think of yourself as your child's friend, because a friend, they'll have lunch with you and do special things, but then you go home and they go home. And most of the time, the both of you would end up being in isolation. Now, maybe if you're kind of introverted, that sounds sort of fun, but honestly, it is not good developmentally for you or for your child. So I think we've answered the question, is it healthy? The answer is no. Children come from parents. That seems to be a logical format for what they need. I don't think that they would have to come through parents if they didn't actually need the training or someone to protect them and nurture them during that time. And a friend just isn't going to cut it. So they need parental authority. They need someone who will define boundaries for them, who will tell them, nope, that's not okay, who will say, I'm sorry if you don't like me for saying this, but this is my job as a parent to do anyway. So how do you have that type of relationship you want with your children then? Well, it is possible. In fact, I can tell you right now that I actually am best friends with all four of my children. They would list each other when they were children as each other's very best friends, and then I was their next best friend. So did I achieve friendship with them? Yes. And as they have grown and matured and now they're adults, have I maybe even taken one of those number one seats? Yes. Of course, their spouses are number one best friend, just as it should be, but mom's still there as a really great support and friend for them. And I haven't told them what to do their whole lives. So how in the world did I do that? What did that look like? Let's talk about my story next. Before I talk about what we can do to create a good bond with our children, click that subscribe button. There are so many great videos here that have skills that you are going to need in order to create the bond with your child that you're hoping for. So years ago, when my oldest children were just toddlers and babies, I started taking in treatment foster children. And they were all between the ages of 12 and 18. And did I want them to like me? Oh yeah. But did I know they needed treatment and needed to learn from me? Oh yeah. So I didn't feel like I needed to trade both of those. I felt like there had to be a way where I could have a good relationship with them, but also tell them the things that they needed for success. So I could correct them. I could even help diffuse them when they were starting to go completely out of control, but it would never be seen like an attack. So I had to prepare myself for that. The one thing that I realized as I was parenting these foster children and then later parenting my children was that one of the most powerful pieces about my parenting was me having confidence in who I was. In order for them to really grasp onto who they were, I needed to know who I was. This concept actually has a name. It's called roles. What are the roles in the family? What is the role of mother? I had to really own that. I had to decide to have confidence in that identity as mother. That would help them have confidence in their identity as child. That meant that they could trust me and trust my teaching, even if sometimes it seemed like it hurt a little bit because they didn't want to control themselves and I was telling them that they needed to anyway. But in the end, their success was great. In fact, it was so great that people started asking me to teach about self-government principles and skills all over the world, to the point that the BBC in England asked me to be in a documentary, and they filmed our family for 8 days and brought 2 troubled teens to stay with us. And the world saw after 2 days there was a drastic change. And by the end of the 8 days, those 2 troubled 17-year-olds were begging not to leave our house. That's what happened because we knew who we were. We told them, no, you can't smoke in the house. You can't do these things. Nope, we don't use that language. Oh, we need you to do these chores and this work. And in the end, they were begging not to leave our house, saying, please don't make us go. We feel so safe here. That's a pretty good bond, wouldn't you say? And to this day, we still have a good friendship after all of those years, which I'm very happy to report on. So what did I do for my foster children, for the children from England who came to visit, and for my own children? I decided to understand my role as teacher and nurturer and to embrace it and not feel like that it was a burden or got in the way of my life. It was my life, and I was going to own it. So I decided I was going to love every minute of it, even if it meant I had to correct negative behaviors. That was huge, and that gave me permission to enjoy the corrections so that they could get the corrections. Because if a parent does not welcome the corrections, they will tiptoe around them and start nagging and stuff and not really correcting. And then the child ends up walking all over the parent. This is a bad thing. So that was first. Then the next thing was helping the child embrace their role as learner in our family so that they could also be happy in how the family dynamic was going to work. The next thing that you want to do to create a good bond with your children is make sure you have good open talk times, that you have good open communication, that you can talk about anything with them. You see how really that is kind of a friendly thing to do, but you're still going to maintain your parental authority, meaning you're going to give advice where you need to. Don't lecture, especially during open talk time. I would say that's not a good practice, but every night before bed, go talk about things. Maybe have separate little parent-child counseling sessions on specific issues that they might be facing. In fact, I do teach on how to have really good parent-child counseling sessions. So if that's something you're looking for, be sure to check out teachingselfgovernment.com because there's a lot of help there along those lines and all the other skills and things that I teach that relate to self-government. We want to make sure that we're having good open communication. That means that we can't be power struggling all the time. So with our children, we've got to know how to communicate. We've got to have skills that we need for success. Some of those skills are for the parents to utilize mostly, and then there's other skills that are for parents and children. In our family, we teach 4 basic skills. These are for everyone. These are the 4 basic skills for success. And they are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. Even adults need these skills in order just to function in the world without getting volatile or misusing people in ways that they shouldn't. But there are also other skills that parents need. I call them my 5 teaching styles. The 5 teaching styles help a parent do the teaching, praising, correcting, and diffusing of a child that might need it in a very calm and productive way, but also maintains the roles and authority so that the child sees that they need to make a course correction. Another thing that we do for our family is we have family meetings. So times where the whole family gets together, we all take ownership over our responsibilities and our relationships in the family, and we discuss how we can improve them. We set goals as a family, and we even talk about consequences that we are willing to accept as a family if we don't follow through with our plans that we make in the family meeting. So having these regular checkup times helps the family see, the children see that you really are as good as your word. So parents try new parenting things all the time, but they don't follow through. And it's usually because they're missing some of the pieces. If you want all of the pieces, then I suggest learning a little bit more. I actually have a class that I'm giving to everybody here on YouTube on this channel. It's a 1-hour class for free. It's called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. That class will give you more details on the things that you need to teach the children to draw their hearts toward you. So I highly recommend going to that video next, and I will see you there.